morning, everyone. This is your teacher, Irish Rain Bison, and I will be teaching English grade 7. Now, let's stand up to start our prayer. Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, please remain standing. Please check under your seats if there are no papers or garbage that needed to be disposed of. Okay, so let me ask who is absent today. Okay, very good. There is none. Now, before we proceed to our lesson, let's have first this group activity. Now, before we proceed to our lesson, let's have this quick activity which will enlighten our day. This activity is called Guess the Action. Now, we will divide you into two groups. Each group will be given a chance to pick in these paper cards. Group 1 will assign one member to act what is written on the paper cards, while Group 2 will guess the action of Group 1 and vice versa. Each group will be given 1 minute to guess the action. Now that the activity is done, well done Group 1 and Group 2, let's proceed to our topic, which is part of speech. This is lesson 1, verb. So, part of speech. What do you think is part of speech? Okay, yes, Miss Gonzalez? Very good. Okay, thank you, Miss Gonzalez. Now, very good. A part of speech is also known as a word class. It is a category of words with similar grammatical properties. So there are parts or major parts of speech in English, which are the noun, the pronoun, the verb, which is our topic for today, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Understanding the part of speech of a word helps in analyzing its role within a sentence and how it relates to other words. Now let's talk about verb. What do we mean by verb? Yes, Mr. Gonzilio? Very good. Yes, Mr. Gonzilio, please read it. Very good. In simple terms, a verb is a word that shows action or a state of being. It tells us what someone or something does or is. For instance, in the sentence, she ran fast, the word runs is the verb because it tells us what she does. Some few examples of words that is a verb. We have the run, jump, eat, sleep, walk, talk, write, read, sing, dance, laugh, cry, study, and play. Now, verbs are important or fundamental parts of speech in English and many other languages. So it is important to understand these features to help in correctly using verbs in sentences and expressing actions or states with precision and clarity. Now, let's proceed with how we define the features of verbs or action words. So here's one example. Jane hates mushroom. In example A, the word hate is an integral part of the meaning of the sentence. This verb clearly communicates the negative relationship between the subject Jane and the object mushrooms, informing the listener or reader that Jane most certainly detests this type of food. Now the second example is letter B, which is Simon loves studying English. Likewise, in example B, the verb phrase loves studying informs us the positive relationship between the subject Simon and the object English. However, notice in the following examples how a simple change of verb or verb phrase completely alters the meaning of a proposition or expression. Now here are another sets of examples without changing the subjects at all. The new brief phrases, which is Jane loves picking mushrooms and Simon enjoys teaching English, With the verb phrases love speaking and enjoy stitching have changed the relationship entirely. As this example demonstrates, verbs can be generally described as that forms the main part of a clause or a sentence, and two, that describes an action, occurrence, or state of being. While accurate enough, this description is perhaps too simplistic to be useful for a language learner who may need to identify words in context and correctly predict form and grammar. Instead, and to the most precisely identify this word, it's important that students are able to both understand and recognize the many functions of verb. Any question? Okay, none. As I have said, there are functions of verbs. So let me present to you the 5 common functions of verb. Let's proceed with the number 1, which is, yes, Mr. Goncilio? Verbs communicate action. Verbs in the English language are used to communicate either actions, read or study, occurrences, or become or to happen, or state of being, be or feel. Or in simple words, it is called expressing action. Verb shows action that someone or something does. For example, in the sentence, the cat runs, the verb run show the actions of the cat moving. The first and most important of verbal function is what allows this word to carry and communicate core meaning of a clause or a sentence. Now the function number 2, yes, Miss Ryan, verbs make clauses. Okay, very good, you can read. Yes, please. Very good. A sentence may be formed of one independent clause or a combination of many independent and independent clauses. Because an independent clause generally requires both a subject and a predicate, and because verbs and verb phrases are the key elements of predicates, this word class clearly functions to create the very basis of human language. Whether simply involving a subject and an object, or an object and a complement, verbs are at the heart of most or almost all clauses and sentences. So to make this clearer, here are some examples of verbs make clauses. The first one are subject plus verb. The first underlined words are the subject, and the bolded words are the verb, and the italic and underlined words are the object or complement. The first one is subject plus verb. That student failed. So that student is the subject, and the verb is fail. Very good. Now the second one is subject plus verb plus object. That student failed his exam. Okay, very good. Now the third one, subject plus verb plus complement. That student is the subject, is the verb, and that clever is the complement. Okay, very good. This function number 2, verbs make clauses, can be called showing the state of being. Verbs can also indicate a state of being. For instance, or another example is she is happy. The verb is links in the subject, she, to the state of being happy. Understand? Okay, very good. Proceed with the function number 3. Verbs can provide this tense and aspect. Okay. Verbs are useful in the English language is that they may be used to modify an expressions or tense, time or aspect or duration of time. Verbs can indicate when an action occurs in time. They can be in the past, present, or future tense. For example, she danced yesterday. It is a past tense. She dances now, which is a present tense, and she will dance tomorrow, which is a future tense. Now here are some sets of example of verbs can provide tense and aspect. Let me present to you the present tense in a simple aspect, or the sentence is he studies English alone. In simple aspect, he studies English alone. In continuous aspect, he is studying English alone. In perfect aspect, he has studied English alone. This is presented in present tense. And if it is written or be read in past tense, the sentence will be he studied English alone. In simple aspect, it can be used he studied English alone. In continuous aspect, he was studying English alone. Perfect aspect, he had studied English alone. So now, you know the difference about present tense and the past tense. Now again, tense or the verbs can indicate when an action occurs in time. Okay, very good. Let's proceed with the function number 4. Verbs demonstrate modality. Verbs are able to communicate aspects of mood and modality. Modality means or modality is a linguistic feature that communicates a speaker's attitudes about the world around them, either through judgment, assessments, or interpretations of the believability, reality, obligation, or desirability of a proposition. Function number 4 can also be called helping verbs. Some verbs work together with the main verbs to form verb phrases. These are called helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. For example, in the sentence, she is singing. Now, the helping verb in this sentence is the is, works with the main verb, which is the singing, to show that the action is happening in the present. There are 12 types of attitudinal or communicative modality that may be expressed with verbs in English. Now let me present to you these examples. Let's proceed with the types of attitudinal modality. Now what do we mean by attitudinal modality? Attitudinal modality refers to the expressions of speaker's attitude or subjective viewpoint towards the content of a statement. In language, modal verbs and other constructions are often used to convey attitudinal modality. Here in the first word, which is the ability, sentence is I can pass the test. The can or could suggests or indicates the ability, the possibility, or the permission. Okay, do you understand? Okay, very good. While in deduction, Jack should arrive on time. Should suggest recommendations or advisability. Like for example, another example of this is you should see a doctor if you're feeling unwell. So the verb here is the should. Okay, very good. While in disapproval, boys will be boys. Will indicates future intention, prediction, or willingness. So the word will is the verb. While in necessity, she must study harder. So must indicates strong necessity or obligation. So the example here is yes, very good. While in obligation, similar to should or ought to, is indicating obligation or advisability. So the sentence here, you should be friendlier. Very good. The verb is should. While in possibility, it may use might or may. The class might be a little late. So the verb is the might. Okay, very good. That suggests possibility or permission. Now, how about in the communicative modality? What do we mean by communicative modality? Okay, communicative modality refers to the way in which language is used to convey information about the relationship between the speaker, the listener, and the information being communicated. It involves various linguistic elements that shape how information is presented and perceived. So here are some examples of this. Advising. You ought to study harder. So the verb here is ought to. This means, okay, very good. It is a direct, it shows explicitly or some subtly is to conveyed. conveyed, which is advising. Okay, very good. How about inviting? Would you like to help me? Yes, it uses a formal language that affects the tone and style of communication. It's in his sentence, would you like to help me? He is asking for help, and the word would is a formal use of language. Okay, very good. How about in offering? May I be of assistance? Very good. May I is a verb in this communicative modality. How about in permitting? You can take a day off. Very good. How about in requesting? Can I take the day off? Can? Yes, very good. How about in suggesting? You could take more or you could talk more in class. Very good. Communicative modality influences how information is transmitted, received, and interpreted in interpersonal communication. It encompasses a wide range of linguistic and non-linguistic factors that contribute to effective and appropriate communication in various contexts. So these 12 abilities, which may express advice, disapproval, permission, or possibility, clearly makes verbs a very useful words in the English language. Now, let's proceed with the last function of verbs, which is function number 5. Verb shows agreement. Okay, who can read? Yes, Miss Ryan. Okay, thank you. Function number 5 can also be the linking verbs. Linking verbs connect the subject of a sentence to additional information about the subject. Common linking verbs include the word is, am, are, was, were, appear, seem, become, and feel. For example, in the sentence, she seems tired, the linking verb is seems. Connects she as the subject or the state of being tired. Now here are some sets of examples of verbs that shows agreement. Now here, may I present to you the singular. In the first person, I am. In the second person, you are. In the third person, he or she is. In plural words, first person, we are. Second person, you are. And third person, they are. Which this means in English, verbs are able to change form to demonstrate whether the subject is a first, second, or third person and whether the subject is singular or plural. Combine these 5 functions together and it's easy to see how useful verbs are for the native and non-native speaker. However, it is not enough to simply recognize these functions if you wish to be accurate with your verb identification every time. Now, any questions about our topic today? Now, okay, very good everyone. Did you understand our lesson today? Okay. Now, let's proceed with the group activity. The direction here is pick your card. Each group leader will pick a paper card with instruction written on it. The group will present their task in the class. Now that we are done in the group activity, let's have a quick individual activity. The direction is this. Find the verb. Encircle the action words by finding it in a word search. Now I'll give you a piece of paper which has the puzzles on it, and you will find the written words presented to you. Now let's summarize all what we have learned today. Again, what is verb? Okay, very good. Verb describes an action or occurrence. Now that is all for today. Now let me give you an assignment for our next topic. Okay, these are the questions. Write it in your notebook. Okay. Number 1 is, what is adverb? Number 2, what are the types of adverb? And number 3, give 5 examples of adverb being used in the sentence. Okay, now that's it for today. I hope you enjoy our class. Thank you and goodbye.